Hi, good morning. Welcome to Stampin' Gloria's Crafty Corner. My name is Gloria Valle. I am a Stampin' Up! Independent demonstrator, and my name is Gloria Valle. I welcome you and look forward to spending a little bit of crafting time with you. We will be making 3 cards this morning and using 3 different types of designer series paper. So I hope that you'll enjoy these cards and just sit back, craft, and relax with me. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Before I show you the actual cards, I would like to just do a couple of quick reminders. I am hosting a June card class to go. It is made with the suite Good Morning Magnolia. It's a very pretty classic suite, and I've chosen some very nice neutral and subtle colors, elegant. They can be used for many different types of occasions. And then I also have free with purchase of $35 or more, a PDF file of written instructions with color photos for 10 projects, 5 cards and 5 3-dimensional projects. So I have those goodies going on right now. And I hope you'll take that into consideration. Also, if you'd like to reach out to me for a catalog, if you need a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I can be reached at stampinggloria.com or stampinggloria.stampinup.net. So please reach out to me. I look forward to hearing from you. Also, I will be trying to watch for messages. So wave, say good morning, give me your feedback. I'd be glad to interact with you during this Facebook Live feed. As a matter of fact, good morning, Gail. Thanks for joining me. Hope you're enjoying a cup of coffee this morning. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera towards the cards that we're making today, while I also try to get a hold of the feed on my iPad so I can see your comments. Okay, it looks like we're pretty close to center. I'm really working hard at keeping my work within the camera. I noticed on Thursday, I got so excited with my project, I'd lift it up and realized after a moment that I wasn't even on the camera. So I'll be working towards that. Since I have the camera down, let me just show you. These are the projects we're going to be making today. We're using the paper from the Peony Gardens, and we're actually using the stamps from Bloom and Grow. We're also using the paper from Ornate Gardens, and I'm sorry, this is Bloom and Grow. The previous one I mentioned was from Tasteful Touches, so you'll see the inside of those cards in a moment. And then this one's our most fun card, and it's the one we'll do last, and it's the Pampered Pets bundle. All right, but what I was telling you a moment ago is the the PDF that we are offering for free with purchase this month. This is one of my featured cards. It's a little spinner card that is pretty quick and easy to make. I also have instructions in that PDF how to make this little photo album, and it's made with the Good World bundle. Okay, and then as far as the June card class, here's a couple of peeks of some of the cards that we'll be making. You will get all the cardstock. It's cut and trimmed. You will also get a bolt of the vanilla ribbon to go along with your card making, as well as a package of metallic pearls that you'll be using on all 5 of your cards. And just as I lifted these up, I noticed that one went flying into space. Here we go, I found it. And so here's the other card. So we'll be doing a little bit of round trim. So what you don't get with your card kit is the stamped image. That you have to do, but I do have all the instructions and the materials that you need listed. Not only will you get a written instruction sheet for making the cards, but I will be providing a card class online for those of you that register for that. All right, well, thank you. Let's go ahead and get started. As I mentioned, our first card, it's some of my favorite colors. Actually, they're some of my favorite colors because they're my mom's favorite colors. She's a purple person, a purple loving person. And so what I like about our colors in Stampin' Up is that we have 3 shades of what we would consider purple. We have the purple posy, and if you look at this ribbon, you'll see that there's 3, it's a tricolor ribbon, the purple posy, Highland Heather, and gorgeous grape. And so I've incorporated all 3 shades of that in this card that we'll be making this morning. Now, this card is a little unique. Its primary focus is the designer series paper, and it's layers of cardstock. So if you'll notice, what we're lifting is actually the designer series paper, and we've made it somewhat of a tablet format. So let me grab my materials. We will be using 2 die cuts from Tasteful Labels, and we will be using 2 stamps from Tasteful Touches, and that would be You Are the Best, as well as our beautiful little flower there. So from the Peony Gardens Designer Series paper, I took one of our 12 by 12 sheets, and I cut this piece so that it is actually 10.5 inches by 4 inches. And in a moment, we're going to score this so that it fits to become this card. I also then need a base card. So this is more of the standard base that we put on cards. Generally, it's twice this size when we fold it in half. So for the purpose of this card, we're making a very strong back layer. And this gorgeous grape piece is 5.5 by 4.25. So that's pretty much the standard size for the card base. Then I'm going to just trim a 1/4 inch off, which would give, an 1/8 of an inch off, which gives me a very narrow margin. So it's 1/16 of an inch all the way around. And I'm trying to mirror the effect of the ribbon on the that I'm going to put on top of the card. And then on top of that, I'll lay this designer series paper, and then within it, we'll put this piece of white cardstock, which is 5 inches by 3 3/4. And then I have 2 pieces of scrap. One is the purple posy that I'm going to do a die cut from, and the other one is Highland Heather, which I'm also going to be doing a die cut from. So those are our pieces, and I'll be catching up with the measurements on my blog. That's my task for this afternoon. It's been a little bit busy this week, babysitting, and just having some wonderful time out with my mom yesterday, and so I didn't get a chance to post measurements for my blog. So I'm going to go ahead, since I pulled up my Big Shot, I'm going to go ahead and get these die cuts out of the way that I'm going to need for my labels. And the first one, again, these die cuts are from the Tasteful Touches bundle, which these are actually called Tasteful Label dies. And you'll notice this little piece of tape. I've gotten very fond of using some washi tape just to hold my, since my paper's so narrow, I want to be sure and keep that die cut in place. And that piece cut out, and we're going to go ahead and cut the next piece. I'm just going to roll it. This next piece is just slightly smaller. But again, I have it on a piece of narrow scrap. I save all my paper in file folders, hanging file folders, and so when I have a scrap left over, I just toss it in that file folder, and rather than cut up a whole sheet of 8.5 by 11 every time I need a tag, I just reach and grab and search for a good size scrap. All right, put that aside. We're done with that. So now we have our labels ready. So we have all our nice little pieces to go. I'm going to now pull out the scoring board. And with this piece of designer series paper, I cut it, again, you want to pay attention for direction. I cut it so that the flowers are upright. And I'm going to turn it to the long side so that I can score it. I'm going to score it 4 3/4. So here's my 4 3/4. I'm going to turn my, there we go. There's 2 round tips on this tool. And just depending on the size of the paper, the thickness of your paper, kind of, for me, it determines the tip that I choose to use. All right, so that was 4 3/4 and 5 1/4. And that's that little margin we're going to use to give our tablet effect. So, hope you guys had a really good week. It's a fun way to start a Saturday morning, just doing some crafting here. All right, I have folded my designer series paper in half, and you'll notice all of our designer series paper, with the exception of foil for the most part then, is double-sided. And so this gives a really nice contrast. I believe this is the gray granite shade of gray. And I just realized that I'm going to flip this over. I just realized that the score line I used was actually the side that needs to be to the back so that my flowers are upright in the card. So let me fix that real quick here. Note to self, when you're scoring, you've got to pay attention to the directions too, right? I mean, to the direction of the paper. So I'm just going to do a 4 3/4. And the fact that I scored on the other side makes no difference because that actually gets glued down flat. There we go. Now my paper's upright. My peonies are upright. All right, so the rest of this card is just really easy. All I'm going to do is start attaching pieces together. We'll do a little bit of stamping here, so let's get this out of the way. I don't think my coffee's quite kicked in. I'm feeling a little sluggish this morning. Oh my goodness, how are you feeling? All right, so Highland Heather, just taped it down to the gorgeous grape. Next is going to go my designer paper. But if you'll notice, I have this tricolor ribbon wrapped around it. And so before I do that, before I adhere my designer series paper, there's a couple of things I'm going to do. One, I want to be sure that the inside of my card is ready. So let's take a look at that. The inside has a very pretty detailed flower that comes from Tasteful Touches, and it is inked with Highland Heather. So let's do that. And it's just right down here on the lower corner. Okay, so we're ready with that piece, and we can adhere it into the inside of this card. And this step is important in this sequence because we're going to be creating a tablet format. And again, make sure, again, I tend to slide a little bit here. I'm going to make sure I create my little margin as I glue this down. Okay, and now in order for this card, where I'm going to put the ribbon, in order for this margin to stay closed and open like a tablet, I'm going to use some Terran tape because it's a stronger tape that'll make sure the card doesn't open differently than what I'm intending. Okay, and just lift up some of this tape. Oops, come on. Sometimes my fingernails just aren't thin enough, and there we go, that worked. All right, now we're gonna adhere that little flap, and now we have that tablet effect. Okay. Now, before we finalize this piece, we need to get that ribbon and wrap it around. And if you'll notice, I did not create a bow. This is kind of a thicker ribbon, so I prefer to just make a little knot. Just give it a little texture and a pop of color. And I also intentionally put the darker shade of the ribbon towards, or let me say the opposite way. I put the lighter shade of the ribbon towards the top of the card. And that gives it some contrast at the top. So I'm going to tie my knot. Okay, let's go. Lay this flat. So I can adjust my ribbon. The important thing is I need to get that knot going. And then I can adjust and I can trim. There we go. Now I just want to slide this knot up to where it's going to fit in the crease, and take my ribbon scissors and trim that a little bit. There. All right, the easiest way for me to adhere this at this point is just use some liquid glue. That way I can capture the top of the back. And now I've flipped the card over and my knot's in the front, and whoops, boy, that must have been a little lump in the glue. That came out fast. Maybe spread that out so it doesn't overflow onto my card. All right. So turn this around. Being very careful not to get that glue on my fingers. And centering that. Again, you get about a 1/16 of an inch margin around. And so now I have my tablet card onto the base. So the card itself is almost like, the heavier part of the card is a very flat, thick piece. It's 2 layers of cardstock, designer series paper, and then the Whisper white cardstock. And then the top is that piece of designer series paper that we've just folded over. Now all we're going to do now is add this cute little label. And again, I'm using the sentiment from Tasteful Touch. And I've chosen to write, "You are the best." So let's get that centered. There we go, "You are the best." I like happy cards, motivation cards. That's one of the reasons I like joining swaps. That's where we trade cards. A group of us sign up to trade cards and share ideas. And so I love that because I get happy mail, I get happy cards. All right, "You are the best." One die cut on top of the other. Again, those are from the Tasteful labels. And I'm going to place that down here in the corner. This is a very quick, simple card. And I want to pop that up. So I'm going to put some Stampin' Dimensionals on the back. You know, this summer's been quite different. I always look forward to babysitting the grandkids when they get out of school. I have them a couple of days a week. And last summer we had this great routine because we do have a new little one, so he's just, would be toted along in his car seat. But the 3 older ones that I take care of, they really got to enjoying the bowling alley. And so our routine last summer was to go bowling once a week, and to the library once a week, and to the park. So we had something different every time. And those memories have been popping up on my Facebook feed, only as a sad reminder that right now I just don't feel it's safe to take them to all these different places. Some are open and some are still not open, so it's not like I really have a choice. So what do you think? That's a very simple card, and it doesn't require a lot of cardstock. It brings that beauty, that tricolor ribbon together, and it's just such a subtle hint of beauty with that granite gray silhouette of peonies in the background. So that's our first card. Quick and easy. Our next card, we're going to be using Ornate Garden's Designer Series paper. Now this package actually has pieces of the Designer Series paper that have some foil to it. So this one is one of the plainer, simpler pieces. It's got a variety of colors in the flowers, and we're going to be using the a 3" by 5.5" piece of Designer Series paper. We're going to be using as our base the Rococo Rose, and I've already scored it. The Rococo Rose is 4¼ inches wide, and 11 inches long, and I've already scored it in half, which is right at the 5.5" margin. And then I need a piece of chocolate chip. Oh my goodness, that is an old color we had in Stampin' Up. It was a dark brown like this, but this one's called Early Espresso. So the Early Espresso just gives a little sharper contrast, and it brings out some of the colors from our designer paper. So I want to be sure that that's going to show. So I want to flip that over. I have the card open towards you, and we're going to do a little bit of stamping. This stamp, thank you from the bottom of my heart, comes from the Bloom and Grow stamp set. And this also comes with a set of dies. For this particular card, I didn't use the dies. Instead, I'm using the small bloom punch. So let's go ahead and ink up our stamp. And where's my oval? Here we go. This is from Layering Ovals. This, I'm just gonna ink up with Early Espresso. And I'll make sure I have that lined up here. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Oh, that's so pretty. I love that contrast with the Early Espresso and the Rococo Rose. And then we're gonna just jazz it up a little bit. Again, before we adhere these pieces, I'm gonna also be using some of our brand new Bumblebee colored ribbon. So I'm gonna put that behind the Designer Series paper in Early Espresso. And I'm also going to be popping out these blooms. So let's start putting these two pieces together so I can wrap the ribbon. And put that, again, this has a 1" margin on each side. And I cut it so that the 5.5" didn't quite get that in the center here. I cut it so that it's end to end, it's still 5.5 inches. I wanted both pieces to touch top and bottom of my card. There we go, that's a little better. All right, so before I adhere the Early Espresso, I'm just gonna wrap this piece of Bumblebee ribbon. And I don't really need a very large piece. I just need enough to tuck it into the back here. So just use a little bit of tape to hold it in place. Let's see, making sure I have it where I want it. Okay. And now I can adhere this Early Espresso piece because my ribbon's in place. Let me just make sure it's straight. There, that's better. All right, so let's go ahead and put some adhesive back here. We do have a new sealing tape, sealing as in S-E-A-L-I-N-G, and that is in my next order. I forgot to put it in my original order, so I don't have that to show you just yet. All right, I'm going to pop this Rococo Rose oval so that it hangs over the sides of the ribbon. Some more dimensionals. put on the top and the bottom, each side. It's Simply Saturday. These are simple, sweet cards, happy cards for a Saturday morning. So we're gonna put that like that. And I purposely put the bumblebee flowers towards the bottom because I want to pull the colors together by adding the bumblebee small blooms here at the top. And I'm also using some champagne rhinestones that we first sold in last year's catalog and happily have carried them over. I love them. In fact, they were so popular last spring that they sold out right away, and of course Stampin' Up! Quickly rises to the occasion and replace those. So I'm just using a scrap of bumblebee cardstock and just my small blooms punch, just popping out 3 of those little blooms. And I'm going to also layer those, so I need 3. You can use small dimensionals. I'm using the large one, and it's an exact fit, so you just kind of have to be really careful when you put that in place so that it doesn't hang out over your flower, your bloom. So I'm just gonna again, just sliding in and out of the camera, occasionally looking up to see that I'm still in the camera. Really am working on that. I bought a new webcam, and I was so impressed with it. I study all the ratings before I buy a webcam and all, and it said it was a wide-angle lens, and I thought, oh, that's got to be good, right? More is better. It's not. It's so wide that it captures too much information and doesn't really focus in on the space that I need for the card making. So I'm going to go back and check and see about a different size camera. All right, so you can tell these are my favorite champagne rhinestones. I'm running low already. I'm going to grab a couple of these medium size and just smack those little gorgeous rhinestones in the middle of those blooms. Look at that. Isn't that just cute? It's a nice little bling, a very simple card, quick and easy. So I did die cut ahead of time this oval, and it does come from layering ovals, and I made it large enough so that I could have a sentiment and still pop up some color to show more contrast, but didn't take a lot. The designer series paper is really what makes this card exciting, I think. All right, that's our second card. Now we're going to have some fun. And I mean, those are fun cards, don't get me wrong, but they're quick and easy, and they're great for beginning stampers. They don't require a lot of skill, and they build a lot of confidence. They're confidence boosters. Well, this next little guy, I love it. Everybody I've talked to, well, a lot of my friends are like me, we're pet owners. And as a matter of fact, my poor little puppies, they're outside because they're barkers. And I promise you that if they were in the house and somebody's moving around, they'll be barking if somebody walks by or rings the doorbell. So I am a pet owner and a pet lover, and many of my friends are. And where I was going with that is that this has become a very popular suite. So the designer's series paper is called Playful Pets, and there's 6 different sheets, and of course they're double-sided, so essentially you get 12 different designs in the designer series paper. This card is made, again, the foundation of this card is the designer series paper, and there are a lot of little pieces that I've cut, and we're going to do a little die cutting after we do some coloring. And we're going to put this card together so that we can make it a gift card, birthday card. So let's talk about the measurements. This one I left for last. It's a little bit more complicated, not hard, just more steps. Pampered Pets, and the die cuts. Now the die cuts, there's only about 5 die cuts, yeah, 5 die cuts in it, but the die cuts will cut out some of the dogs from the paper, and then some of the other paper have cats. So the die cuts will cut these images out, and a few, not many, but I think it's 2 of them that'll cut from the designer series paper. So it's worth having the whole bundle, and it's a very inexpensive bundle too. Okay, so let's start with our layers. The first one is I love it. I love this card because you can make 2 out of a sheet of designer's paper. It is 12 inches long, and it is 5.5 inches tall. So this is what we're going to be scoring in a moment to make our base card. Then I am going to need some pieces, and I guess it might be easier. Let me do the steps. Let me fold this first and show you how to get that together. And then as we go through the card, I will show you the sizes for each of the pages to that card. So, pulling out my scoreboard. Okay, so for this card, I have to pay attention to the directionality of the paper. I have to make a decision which side of my paper I want to be the dominant side. And what I mean by that is, if you'll notice this card, it has a little bit of the contrasting side, but my dominant feature I wanted to highlight were the dogs. So that's why I say decide what you want to be your dominant side, because that's how you're going to lay the paper down onto your scoreboard. The other side of it would become the back of your card, and then that little trim in the front. So having said that, I have my dominant side up, and I'm going to start my scoring. I'm going to score the first layer at 1 3/4. The second layer is 4 3/4. The third score line is 7 3/4. Turn this around and just go through those score lines again. And always make sure that your paper stays aligned so that your lines stay straight. All right, we're going to get that put away. And now I'm going to grab my bone folder, and I'm going to first create a valley fold, or just fold it to the inside. Then I'm going to do a mountain fold and a valley fold. So you can tell that when I say valley, that means there's a dip in the card, and then when I say mountain, there's that peak in the card and another valley fold. So I'm going to make a little burnish on that, and there I have that card put together. Now notice that this card doesn't open up like an accordion, right? And the reason for that is because we're going to adhere these two, they're both 3 inches, we're going to adhere these on the back side with some adhesive. So I'm just going to run some adhesive back here. Let's grab another roll there. And when all else fails, we grab a third roll. Could have sworn I checked my adhesive. Either they got stuck on me or they really ran out. Okay, fold this over. And now I have the card effect that I want. Okay. So now we'll start working on our layers. Good morning, Gloria. I saw you said you can't hear me. I'm sorry. Maybe I still have a Saturday morning raspy voice. I'll try to project a little louder here. Sorry about that. And thank you for letting me know, and thank you for joining me. All right, I have 3 pieces of cardstock that I'm going to use for my front label. The larger piece is basic black, and it is 3 3/4 tall by 2.5 inches wide. And then I'm going to contrast that with a little smaller piece of red, and the real red is 3 5/8 inch by 2 3/8 inch. So those 2 pieces are going to be layered here on top. And then I have actually I have a second real red that's 3 5/8 and 2 3/8, and I'm going to adhere it to the back side. So let's get started putting these 2 pieces together. I'm just going to layer that red onto the black. Now, this is a small margin, so I need to keep that in mind as I center my red piece. There we go. And this is what, I love this paper. It's got these little faces. Now, sadly, this particular one, so I'm going to see a face of a dog here, but I'm not going to see one until I open this panel. So I'm just going to have to leave just a tiny margin here on the side. So as you can see, I want to be very careful. I don't want to put tape on the whole piece. Just going to put adhesive on half of that so that I can lay it down there. And then on the opposite side, I'm just going to center this red piece as well. And just leave a small little margin there. Okay. And we're going to stamp and die cut this little guy towards the end. All right, I'm going to move to the next 2 faces. And here's where I'm going to make my gift card holder. And this piece is another piece of real red. And this piece of real red is 2.5 inches wide by 4 inches long. And above that, I'm going to be placing the designer series paper. Notice again, there's the 2 sides. This is another sheet, another set of design that comes in this pack. And I'm going to use these words. It has a nice bold contrast to the red, and it's going to bring out the black and white that I'm placing on the opposite side. So we'll get to that in a moment. Let's finish this one up. So we're going to adhere our designer series paper onto the real red. This one has a little bit more margin because I'm going to use my 2-inch punch, and I'm going to just slide that in. Let's see, make sure I have it directionally appropriate. Slide that in just ever so much, about maybe 1/4 of the way in, and pop that out. And now that way I have a little means for grabbing the card. So I'm going to put a very thin layer of glue just around the 3 sides. Very narrow, thin line. I like the liquid glue. It's pretty strong, and it hasn't let me down yet, so we're going to use that. Place that piece there. And now the glue needs to dry a moment, but that's going to fit nicely, so we'll let that set for a moment. Meanwhile, we're going to go to the opposite side, and I just hate covering up these cute little faces. That's the sad part. That's why on that first panel I only chose to put cardstock on this side so that we could feature those cute furry faces. So going back to our final panel, I'm using a piece of black designer series paper, and it is cut at 5 3/8 by 2 7/8. And I'm going to put that close to the fold. Put that down. And before I adhere my white, Whisper White, I'm going to do a little bit of stamping. I always do the stamping before you do the adhering in case you make a mistake and you need to flip it over. So the first one is, I hope your day is a real treat. So I'm going to put that up on top with some Memento Black. Okay, and let me try the other side real quick. Okay, that a little bit better there. And then I'm taking a little dog bowl stamp, put that at the bottom. And while I have that out, I'm going to use some of my Real Red blends. And I have the light and the dark red. We sell those as a combo pack. I'm going to start off with the Real Red light and just color in the bowl. We also have Playful Pets embellishments, really cute little embellishments, and I'm going to be tacking on one of those in just a second. Let me give this a little bit of contrast with my blend pens, just kind of darken the inside of the bowl and the sides. That's the beauty of these blend pens. It gives you that opportunity to shade the colors in, just like a natural artist. So I'm just going to sweep over that a little bit. There we go. Now, I was talking about those cute little embellishments. Let me pull those out. So they have little hearts, little bones. We're going to put a bone in the bowl. And with our little mini dots, we'll adhere the bone onto that bowl. There we go. And so we have a little treat in our birthday card, in addition to the treat of the gift card. One for the puppy and one for the our friend. Okay, so now we're ready to adhere that down. And see, this is what I meant. You can stamp, and if you don't like it, I had made a little smudge there. I didn't like it, so I just flip it over, and my secret is gone. It's hidden. There we go. So there's the inside back of the card. And again, now my glue has settled, and I can put my Starbucks gift card in here, and it fits nicely. All right, now let's do, I left the dog stamp and die cut for last. To me, it's the most fun. I will have to apologize. Just like I told you, stamp first. Well, I meant to stamp my red card with the happy birthday message before I adhered it. And I noticed it as I reached for my stamp a moment ago, that stamp was sitting there and had been unused. So we're going to try and cross our fingers and pray that this comes out. Oh, thank goodness. It came out without a smudge and without a crease. It worked. Okay, now let's stamp our dog. They're so cute. I looked them up last night because I thought they were called Scottish Terriers, and the photos that I looked up matched my suspicion or my thoughts. So I believe that these are called Scottish Terriers, and if I'm wrong, let me know. I'm all about learning. Okay, so there's the back side of our little furry friend. And we're going to do the front side of him. And I'm using Memento Black because, again, I'm going to be using my blend pens. My stamps out of the way. And I'm going to start with my light smoky slate and my dark smoky slate. I also have my dark basic black I'm going to use on his nose, and I have the real red that I'm going to use on his collar. So let's start off with the light gray. And I'm going to use my brush tip. So this little guy, love the way their little whiskers are. Try to color this in quickly for you. So I took a good look at the terrier that was in the card, and I noticed that his face was a little bit lighter, and right here in the middle of the body is a little darker. So I'm starting with this light shade because I'm going to layer it with the darker one in a moment. And then start putting some of that contrast in place. I just want to fill that color in like that. All right, so using this little guy as a model, now I'm going to go back in there and put some little shading in here. And got his little eyes area, and then this section's a little darker. Just kind of, and then he also in the larger picture gets a little darker in here. And they're called blends because I can go back in with this brush and just kind of blend that color so that it doesn't look real streaky. Put a little bit more color in here. There we go. I think it works there. That little area that I used the dark blends remains darker. There we go. And let's do his nose. I need a tip here. That's what I'm doing. I'm pushing, I look at the camera or the picture on the camera and I'm pushing in the wrong direction. It's opposite. In order for you to see, I need to be pulling back, and I keep pushing you further and further away from me. Goodness. Okay. Let's go to this, let's put the collar on him using my dark real red and the narrow tip. There. I'm going to go to the bottom guy, and this is mostly his, oops, that's the black. I want the dark, smoky slate. So I'm going to start with that shade in this case because he's going to be a little darker because this is the back side of him. Accentuate all those lines. And take my brush tip on my light smoky slate. Just blend that in. So whether you're a dog lover or a cat lover, both of them are featured equally in this Pampered Pets series. The paper, there are 2 sheets of cats, just like there are 2 sheets of dogs, and then the contrast to the back of that is a real nice, it's a pattern similar to this. They vary, but they work well to make this kind of card. And then of course you have a couple of extra sheets that'll have the words and or dog bones, dog bowls, little cats, paw prints, and fish. There we go. So he's all gray, but I mean, no dog is exactly, you know, a solid tone. So just highlight that by using my dark blend and then going over it with the lighter blend. I want this little white spot though. There we go. These guys are ready. They're ready to go to the groomer. So let's pull out the Big Shot and groom them to fit our card. Make sure that I get this in the right place here. And I need my little die cuts. And again, I'm going to use some tape just to, the magnetic plate works well. It's more the magnetic force from the friction that that I cause from use that I'm concerned about it. Not showing up. I mean, not staying in place. I said that wrong. Okay. Turn this guy around. Here we go. Okay. So I've got both of those guys on my plate. I'm going to put the second layer and let's get these guys groomed. Here we go. Again, the washi tape is the best. If you're going to use an adhesive, use that, or Post-it note, because that does not take away from the inked image, nor does it tear your paper. Okay, so now we've got these two little guys, and we need our card back so we can put him in place. And as usual, got to pop the little guy up. We're going to put dimensionals. Turn them around. Okay. And I'm going to be placing some ribbon right here, so it'll be just right there. He's just right. And then this guy, I just thought it was kind of like the dog. You know, we close the door or open the door, and now we see the backside of him looking out. So I just thought that was kind of a cute place to put him. There we go. So our little Scottish Terrier. Now, with this suite, there is also not only the embellishments, but we have this really cute ribbon. As a matter of fact, it's a 2-pack, and the other one, I may have already put it away. The other one is a black and white twine, and it's 2 ribbons come in the pack. This red dotted ribbon, or I say dotted, like a dotted line ribbon, and then that black and white twine. Oh, here it is, so you can see it. So those are really flattering ribbons that will fit nicely with this bundle of pampered pets. Okay, so we're going to tie our little knot here, or bow, not a knot. This time it's a bow. And hopefully I get this right the first time. Oh yeah, it would help if I did 2 sides to the bow. I tie the bow before I cut the ribbon to, there we go, oh, perfect, thank you, to preserve the ribbon. So I'm not overestimating how much ribbon I need. Loosen that and then tighten it a little bit better. There we go. How about that? He's cute. I'm gonna swing this bow up a little bit. And if you want, you can always put a little glue dot. And actually, I did do that in the card that I made a moment ago, or the other day. Put a little glue dot. I'd like to hold my bow in place. A little glue dot and put it right under that so that my ribbon doesn't wiggle too much. And while we're at it, let's trim this a little bit. There we go. How about that? Isn't it cute? Happy birthday to you. And then a gift card. I hope your day is a real treat. Isn't that a cute little card? So today we have completed 3 projects. We have the Designer Series paper folded birthday gift card. We have the Ornate Garden, and this was made with the Pampered Pets. We have Designer Series paper highlighted here, Ornate Gardens, and we use the small bloom punches on Rococo Rose with a little bit of Early Espresso and the new Bumblebee color. And we made a layered card with the Peony Garden paper in a tablet format with some simple stamping and the tricolor ribbon using all 3 shades of Stampin' Up's purple, the Gorgeous Grape, Highland Heather, and Purple Posy. I hope you've enjoyed being with me today. Hi, Jesucita, good to see you. Thank you for joining. It's so nice. And Martha, thank you for joining me. It's always a pleasure having you watch. I hope that you'll be excited about this and consider taking on a new hobby if you're not already stamping. I would be happy to send you a catalog. Just message me. I can be reached easily through my email, which is stampinggloria24@gmail.com. I can be reached on my blog, which is www.stampinggloria.com, or my online store, which also has a way to reach out to me, and that's stampinup.net. So there's a lot of ways to get a hold of me, and always through Facebook and Messenger. That works well too. I like doing the Facebook Lives. As I mentioned earlier, if you like these cards that we made today, the card class I have for June is very similar in that we're making some fairly simple cards, and I will be doing a video in addition to the written instructions. So it's a really good way for me to walk you through the process. Typically, I've always had my classes here in my in-home studio downstairs, and we've had a lot of fun, and it's easier to interact, of course, and help you. But with our current situation, I've switched over to online classes, cards to go, so I can ship it to you, or I can package it and have it ready for porch pickup. There's a lot of different ways that we can still communicate and make cards together. So thank you for spending some Saturday morning time with me. I really appreciate it. I hope that you've enjoyed what you've seen today and that you will join me in stamping. I also always have the paper pumpkin kits, which come out monthly, and those are also very cute, easy ways to learn step by step how to join the card making. And trust me, the investment you make is long lasting, because you're not buying a $7 or $8 card at the store to give away. You're buying a kit that allows you to make many cards. You give them to your friends and family, and I assure you, those cards they hang on to because they're more memorable because you made it and you chose to give it to them. So take some time to think about that. If you haven't tried it before, please do. I'd be happy to help you out. Have a wonderful and blessed Saturday. Bye-bye.